Hello my friend, and welcome to this special turning a boring engine into a tuner dream engine. So this is the GMC 351 cubic inch V6 engine. As we all know, these engines are massively oversized and low on power. This family, the GMC V6, started in life all the way in 1959 all the way to 1974, as I quite remember. That's the whole V6 GMC family. The classic one. As you can see, these engines are massively oversized, and these engines actually were designed only to make great amount of torque, very great amount of low RPM or low end torque as they call it. So these engines are not designed to make good amount of horsepower or even to rev high. So yes, the whole amount of torque is of course coming from this massively oversized engine. The bore is just, huge, really huge, as you will be seeing in a moment. So this is a V60 degrees 6-cylinder engine, made of course from cast iron. That was very popular back then because this is the 1972 model. Let's see, we have cast iron block, and look at the bore. The bore is just huge, 116 millimeters. That's a massively oversized bore. Can you imagine the face of the piston? It's massive. And 90.9 millimeters on the stroke, which equals a 5764 cc engine. That's a massive beast of a V6 engine. You can say a 5.8 liter V6 engine. Wow. Push rods, of course, 2 valves per cylinder, cast iron cylinder heads. Let's see, we have cast internals. +6 quality because for a special reason that I don't know about, these pistons, let me show you the pistons. Yeah, these pistons cannot rev high or cannot actually run on 0 quality. They can only reach like 1600 RPM max. So I had to push the quality of them to +6 to make them rev to the official RPM limit for this engine. Alright, let's move on. So this engine is made with 7.5 to 1 compression ratio. Yeah, very low compression ratio. And yes, I'm not kidding, this is 0 cam profile. The lowest ever cam profile you can get. A very tiny cam profile that will allow the valves to open nicely at very low RPM, very low RPM, and will stay nearly shut at high RPM, which destroys the engine top range horsepower. This engine is making very low amount of horsepower for its size and very great amount of torque at low RPM, which is very famous back then. So yes, 0 cam profile, +1 quality for the official horsepower and torque ratings. Of course, naturally aspirated, and this engine has from the factory a massively oversized 2-barrel carburetor, a single one, right, of course with standard intake manifold, the famous air filter or air cleaner lid, as you can see from the 70s, regular leaded 92 octane fuel. Let's see, 13.3 is the air fuel ratio, 31 on the ignition timing, and 4000 RPM limit. That's the official RPM limit. +5 quality on the carburetor just to make it work. Moving on, we have cast log headers, which are the worst ever. Double or dual exhaust pipes. I think the pickup truck that came with this engine, or the pickup truck that got this engine, has only a single exhaust manifold, or a single exhaust pipe, not manifold. Yeah, but I tried to make it with a single exhaust pipe and I couldn't get the official horsepower and torque. That's why I went with dual. And this is a funny bit because, as you can see, the exhaust diameter is a 2-inch exhaust diameter for each pipe, which is very huge for this engine, very or too much for this engine. But I had to make it this big just to make this engine to lose torque, just so I can reach the official torque rates. So yeah, it's a massively oversized exhaust pipe. Reverse flow first muffler, no second muffler, and +5 quality. Alright, let me show you the horsepower rates then. So this engine is making 150 horsepower at 3500 RPM and 280 pound-feet of torque, or 282 in this engine at 1600 RPM, very accurate to the original engine. So what we have here is a 54 on the reliability, which is very reliable engine back then, and the engine is running on 91.8 octane, which is very good for the fuel back then. Not bad fuel efficiency. The engine is extremely, heavy. 284 kilograms. That's absolutely heavy. How can I measure it? It's like having the center of the earth under the hood. Well, you're not making that extra horsepower, just heavy weight. And the truck itself, I think, it was also heavy. So all this weight, not much horsepower, and not bad amount of torque. Yeah, so it's not actually a fast machine at all. And I think, I don't know, automatic gearbox or maybe 3-speed or manual, who knows. I haven't actually searched that. I would love to know that in the comment section, what kind of gearbox came with this engine. But yeah, very great amount of torque, not much horsepower. Fits the playlist, or fits the boring engine into a tuner engine, category. Fits it perfectly. So now we have seen the engine. Let's fire it up in its stock form and see how it will sound. So this engine is making at idle 262 pound-feet of torque, and I think that's the whole goal of this engine, to make tons of torque at idle, even at idle, which is very amazing. But the horsepower is rubbish, so yeah, don't be amazed too much. So you can actually just drive this engine like this. Job done. You have all the horsepower, or no, not the horsepower, you have all the power, all the torque at this point. Job done. You don't need to rev the engine higher. But of course, we will rev it. So as you have seen, the engine is making not much horsepower, very great amount of torque, but we will be of course changing that. But first, let me make a clone of this engine, because I would love to keep the stock form. So let's make another clone and start tuning. Alright, so we are back with the stock clone, but this is not the stock one. I'm gonna be tuning this to the moon. Alright, so let's start from the beginning. So this is a very massive and torquey engine. Let's imagine you got this engine in 2018. So let's jump ahead in the production year. Of course, we will be adding extra horsepower because it's 2018. Actually, not that much. I'm impressed. It's still the same, which is surprisingly well. As you can see, the parts, because we are using like 2018 pistons and connecting rods and crankshaft. The RPM limit has increased, a lot, because, well, these parts are much better than the 1970s ones, and of course the fuel efficiency is much better, the engine is much more quiet, it's better in every single way. But I don't care about that, because the engine is still in its stock form, which is very boring. So because in 2018 you can't actually use, let's say you can't use a leaded fuel, because, well, it's not available, so you have to switch to 95 so you can make it work without any knocking problem. Let's see now. Alright, so let's start with it. Let's say you are a cool guy and you love these V6s so much, and you went online, or maybe you just went to an auction or somewhere, or a junkyard or something, and you have purchased that pickup truck, that 1974 or 72 GMC pickup truck with this massively oversized V6 in it, and now let's say you decided to tune it. So the first thing you need to do is, of course, and the cheapest thing you can do, is put a nice exhaust system on it, which is these days are not really expensive. You can find tons of kits for these engines, and you can do it easily. So let's say you went online, or you went to eBay, or maybe you bought a better headers from a junkyard or something, from a, let's say, a later model engine. You're switching from a cast log to a short cast headers. Yes, you will add a great amount of torque, not bad amount of horsepower, but just go with a kit with a tubular headers, much better. And let's say go with a small exhaust diameter. As I've mentioned before, I made it extra large to get the official horsepower and torque, but let's go smaller. Yep, like let's say 1.5 inch exhaust diameter gives you 300 pound-feet of torque and 157 horsepower. And let's see, straight through muffler, no, keep the quiet one, works perfectly, and job done. You have extra torque and extra horsepower. You have extra 20 pound-feet of torque and extra 6 horsepower. So of course now your pickup truck can tow heavier heavy loads because you have extra torque. Look at that, 274 pound-feet of torque at idle. That's impressive. Look at that, job done. You have all the torque. Amazing. 1400 RPM. The engine feels so lazy when you rev it. When you open the throttle to the max, let's say from 2700, the RPM becomes so lazy. You feel like the engine is choking on air, and it's happening. Look at the vacuum. It's choking. Look at that. Wow, very lazy. Of the camshaft, and I think a better move, better than the carburetor of course, is go with a better camshaft. I mean, look at that. Look at that beast. Of course you will be losing all the low-end torque, but you'll be adding so much horsepower. I mean, and I'm talking about so much horsepower. Look at that. So yes, let's say you open the engine, you have better internals. Let's say the engine is a rebuilt engine. You have chosen a 2018 like pistons, cast internals, so you can rev the engine to the moon. So let's say 6000 RPM, a brand new carburetor, and of course a brand new look at that camshaft. Look at the difference. Whoa, look at the difference. So yes, we are losing so much torque, and I don't want to lose torque. So let's say 240 horsepower, normal cam profile, cheap one, not an expensive one. And since we have opened the engine and we have chosen these regular cast internals, let's say you have went with a let's say 8.0 to 1 compression ratio, much better. Let's see how much we can increase the ignition. I think we are pretty much maxed out at 80. Good, very good. 5700 seems very perfect. And now you can increase the exhaust diameter because you have so much air to exit, so that will be much better. Alright, look at that beast. Now this engine is becoming like a hot rod engine. Let's fire it up. Brand new camshaft, brand new carburetor, intake manifold and exhaust system. Oh, listen to that. Remember, we started in live with 150 horsepower, so we added 100 and extra 22 horsepower and 300 or 280 pound-feet of torque. Now it's 334. I mean, that's pretty awesome. If you want to keep it you know, stock and classic carburetor on it, yes, you can do that. It's an easy thing to do, especially in the United States, because these engines are extremely popular over there. I mean, they are extremely rare here in the Middle East, for example, and I think we can't find any one of these engines in Europe. But in the United States, these engines are like everywhere. You can go to any junkyard or you can like browse Craigslist or whatever website they use to purchase these cars, and you can find them. They are absolutely available, and people love to tune those engines because they are very massive, and you can get great amount of horsepower out of them. So let's go step by step. This engine is a rebuilt engine, 8.0 to 1 stock, or not stock, you know, cast internals, normal engine, normal camshaft, better carburetor on the top, better exhaust system, and look at the difference. So huge. The difference is so huge. So let's say you want to tune it even more. So putting another carburetor with, you know, a custom intake manifold, that's extremely expensive. So my suggestion is just go with an EFI kit. Just go with an EFI kit, because I've seen online a lot of Holy kits. They call them Holy Terminator or Dominator or whatever. The intake manifold or the intake or the throttle body looks absolutely identical to a carburetor. Looks very identical. You can actually use it on the stock intake manifold. You know, the stock intake manifold that came with the car, or with the stock 70s engine. You can put that EFI kit on it, which is absolutely beautiful. I mean, I can't imagine anything more special than that. You can keep the classic looks with the classic air cleaner and have an EFI in the engine, which is absolutely amazing. But since we have chosen EFI here, yes, the engine will look absolutely different. Look at it, look at that. Yeah, I mean, that's not really what you call realistic, unfortunately. So as you can see, yes, the intake manifold has changed like extremely different, and yeah, you have all this nonsense. Of course, I would of course prefer to go with an EFI kit in real life, but keeping the original and the classic air cleaner look, because it looks much better. So yeah, let's imagine that in our minds and forget about that. So let's see, 95 octane fuel. Look at the fuel difference. Look at the fuel efficiency, throttle difference. Look at the throttle response. Absolutely amazing. So we have an EFI kit. That means if you want to purchase an EFI kit, you need to put, like, I think a coolant temperature sensor, an O2 sensor, and I'm not sure. Do we need anything else? A crankshaft sensor? No, because, well, I don't know if you can actually put that, but I think yes, a coolant temperature sensor and an O2 sensor. I don't know anything else. I'm not really sure, but I think that's pretty much it. And an ECU inside the car, and of course a throttle position sensor and an airflow, or you know, an airflow sensor here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And a throttle body. The job done. Job done indeed. You have to tune the ECU, tell it what capacity is the engine, and yeah, that will be pretty much it. So let's see, we have an EFI right now. That means we can actually make an engine to run even much better. So let's open it, put forged internals in it, zero quality, no need to spend so much money. And let's say long tubular headers or even custom headers, which they look absolutely amazing. Let's say 2.2 inch exhaust diameter, +5 quality, performance intake manifold. All these things will add so much horsepower. Look at that, 290. And now let's go with a much better camshaft. Look at that. Yes, I know we are losing so much torque, but we are adding horsepower, and horsepower equals speed, and I want speed, especially in a car. So let's say +5 quality, very good camshaft. And since we have forged internals and EFI, we can have, of course, very high compression ratio. So let's say 10.5 to 1 compression ratio, and let's push a little bit more fuel in. Yep, 12.6. That's too much, but it should serve the purpose very well. Now we can rev the engine even higher, like 7,000 RPM, but that's too much. So 6,600, 2.5 inch exhaust diameter, or even 3 inch. Very good. Oh yeah, 2.8 inch seems very good. Yeah. Alright, so the engine is done. Look at that beast. Look at that. Now let's fire it up. Oh, listen to the camshaft. This engine is just rumbling and burping like a beast. So 70, I like the sound of the 70 camshaft. So let's see, push the compression I want, 11.0 to 1. Let's have a higher camshaft profile, 74, let's say plus 10 quality, you know, a very good camshaft, 7,000 RPM. That's gonna be epic. 12.5. Nope. Yep, like this. 393 pound-feet of torque. No, the exhaust is 2.5 inches, much better. Nope, plus 5 quality seems very good. Oh, the engine is very amazing. Alright, so let's fire it up and look at that. Look at that beautiful looking engine. Look at that. It looks absolutely amazing. These exhausts, this intake manifold, I mean, epic indeed. And 446 horsepower instead of 150 horsepower. Wow. We have 300 horsepower difference. Listen to that. Oh my goodness, look at that. I mean, all this is just naturally aspirated engine. We still have the same 1972 like engine block. Of course, the cylinder heads are much different, and they are much more opened. We have different exhaust system, of course, custom exhaust system. We have a custom EFI kit with a custom intake manifold. As you can see, it looks absolutely amazing. And of course, we have a high performance camshaft, not a racing camshaft, this is a high performance camshaft, and forged internals with 11.0 to 1 compression ratio, and the results are 446 horsepower and 397 pound-feet of torque. Now this is all naturally aspirated. So let's say you want twin turbos on the engine, ball bearings, very good, small turbine, and let's start with 50 millimeters, or no, 48. That should be good. Let's say 8 psi of boost. So on 6.94 psi we have 488 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. Now that's too much. That's amazing. I'm impressed. And of course we need to go with even, let's say, bigger exhaust diameter, which is very awesome. We can push the fuel more if you want to, more ignition if you want to. 505 horsepower. Oof, that is absolutely amazing. Alright, let's tune the turbos even better, because we are not getting the fully potential of this engine. So these turbos will kick in at 2600, which is very good. Wow, look at that. So 42 millimeters is the turbine. Let's say 51 millimeters here, and yes, bigger throttle body. Sorry, bigger intercooler. I'm sorry. Let's decrease the ignition a little bit. Add more boost in, or let's see, like better high quality injectors, and no, we need to push even more fuel in. 11.9. Yes, 564 horsepower. That's absolutely brutal. 568. So let's go with 9.5 to 1 compression ratio. That's much better. So yeah, let's push the boost in. Oh, look at that. 584 horsepower at 10 psi. Wow, we are getting very close from Nissan, you know, GTR territory. Really close. Can you imagine a Chevy, or so not Chevy, a GMC V6 engine from 1972? Look at that, 1972 block, as you can see. And of course, better internals, better EFI, a modern EFI system, custom exhaust system, custom twin turbos. Wow, and look at that, 591 horsepower. Come on, I want 600. I want to get 600 horsepower. I mean, that's whoa, look at that. 601 horsepower and 524 pound-feet of torque. Now that is just brutal. 603 horsepower. Now this engine is making the amazing potential horsepower, you know, for its capacity. Now the horsepower capacity ratio is very good. Before it was embarrassing, but now it's very amazing. Look at that. Yes, it's extra heavier, but yeah, a lot more reliable, a lot more efficient. Or no one cares about this, but look at that. 150 horsepower stock, 602 horsepower now. Now that is an absolute beast. Look at that. Alright, let's see how it will perform. So that's pretty much it, my friends. 602 horsepower. So what do you think of the final result? Do you prefer the engine in its natural aspirated form, like 400 horsepower, or would you like a turbocharged with 602 horsepower, or would you like to keep it classic with a 4-barrel carburetor and like 300 horsepower max? So tell me which one of these versions are your favorite one. And I'm really impressed with this engine. I mean, 602 horsepower. I mean, can you imagine the same pickup truck with a modern gearbox in it, like modern rear differential, modern suspension and modern brakes, and of course 602 horsepower under the hood. I mean, that would be brutal on the street. Wow, that would be amazing. Can you imagine going like against a Mustang or a Camaro, or he's bragging, oh look at me, I have a V8 under the hood, I can beat anyone, and look at that pickup truck, and you will just look at him with your eye like that. You will just drop the hammer down, smoke those rear wheels, and of course fly off and leave him in the dust with this absolutely brutal engine. I'm genuinely impressed. And of course, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, get subscribed, share the video if you want to share it, and if you have any suggestion for this engine, because you will be seeing this engine very soon in a pickup truck. I'll be making a 1972 pickup truck, and I'm gonna be slamming this engine in it, the stock one and this one, the turbocharged one, and I will be seeing the results very soon. So thank you so much guys for watching. If you enjoy my channel and if you like my videos and if you want to support the channel, the link in the description below for my Patreon page, so you can support the channel and download all the amazing special cars that we made in the past, like the V16 Queen, which is the most powerful car in Automaiton game, plus other replicas and other crazy 4K wallpapers. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon, and goodbye for now, my friends.